Hi everyone!
Hello!
Just wait for a few people to connect. We're here in the sweltering hot Turin and we're really excited to show you a little taste of the city, but we'll just wait for a few people to connect. I can see a few people starting to join. Hi! Hi everyone! We'll just wait a minute or two. So I've been living in Turin for almost 2 years, but I've brought the true local Andrea, my boyfriend, with me.
Hi there.
As well today. So he's going to tell us a bit about the history of Turin as well. If you have any questions,
if you can hear us
also if you can hear us, yeah, good point. If you can't hear us, please let us know now. Or if you can hear us, if someone can just leave a comment. Because we are outside, it's our first time doing this, so we could have a few issues with the noise, but we'll give it our best go.
Yes.
We'll just wait a few more minutes.
Today is quite hot in the city, so...
Yeah, it's about 30 degrees already, and it is 11:30 in the morning here, so it's only going to get hotter.
Proper summer.
A proper summer. Okay, awesome. I can see a few people joining. So I think that we're going to get started because we've got a lot to show you. We can't show you everything, but yeah, we'll show you some interesting sights.
For the background
amazing
noises.
You can hear. Thank you. Awesome. So we'll just get started, and quickly we're going to show you where we're standing. So I'm just going to turn the camera around with us to show you where we are. Let's see. Porta Palatina, so an ancient Roman gate.
Yes, so a bit about the history of Turin and this gate. So basically, for those of you that don't know where Turin is, first of all, Turin is located in northwest of Italy, north of Rome and Florence, and west of Venice and Milan. It's very close to the Alps and not too far from the sea. It's quite a big city, around 1 million people live here. Turin has a very old history. It was first founded by the Celtic tribes
and Ligurian tribes
in the 1st century before Christ. Then, of course, the Roman came, as you can see in the background, and they left part of their architecture in the city for us. We're gonna show to you properly later. We're gonna go through the gates. And they ruled on the city for many centuries. They changed the name of the city, calling it Augusta Taurinorum. They built the city in a way that is typical of Roman cities, in a very perpendicular way. We're gonna see that too. And Turin, to this day, it's famous because it's still built back as it was by the Romans. So they ruled here for many centuries. Then after the Roman Empire fell, different rulers alternated each other, but the most important rulers that came after were, maybe some of you know, the Savoy family, one of the royal families of Europe that ruled here since around 900 after Christ until Italy was unified. They were in fact the ones that moved the capital of the duchy from France, where they originated from, to Turin in Italy. And this is important because Italy was in fact, after in 1800s, in the late 1800s, the first capital of Italy. Maybe not many of you knew this, but Italy was the first capital of Italy. Not Florence or Rome, but this city. So this is a quick sum up of what you're going to see today, and we can start up to talk about the Roman gates.
So we're going to just turn the camera around so you can get a proper view of what we're looking at.
Yes.
Which will take you around now.
Use the camera.
And again, if anyone has any issues hearing, just let us know.
So these are the proper gates that were one of the 4 entrances to the city of before it was a city, it was a Roman encampment, and then it was enlarged to be part of a city. You can also see part of the old wall there. So this gate here is called Porta Palatina in Italian, and was built around the year the 13 after Christ. It's very old. We can still go through there, and it underwent different restrictions and different changing over the years. So it was used for many things. At the beginning it was just a door where you could go through and had to pay tolls, of course, when you went through and back and forth. Then in the Middle Ages it was used, these two towers were added. They were not part of the original gate, they were added on during the Middle Ages as a defensive structure. You can also see those wide parts standing up. They were later added on during the centuries to add cannons and guns to protect the city. It was even used as, those towers were even used at a certain point as a jail.
Ah, as a jail as well.
Yes, quite a nice view. But
wow.
Anyway, it underwent for different times it underwent restructions, and now it's been restored as best as they can to preserve it as it originally was. And this, together with the Roman theater that is down there, we're going to see it in a moment, is the biggest Roman remains of the city. Now we can go through them and see that there are two statues that still represent two Roman emperors, but they are quite tricky. There is something wrong about them that we're going to see and we're going to discuss.
Again, if anyone can hear us at any point, just leave a comment, because we are outside and dealing with the noise of cars and etc, etc. Okay, so we're walking through, and also just show you on the ground as we're walking, you can see the indentations of chariots from Roman times.
These are still the original stones that were originally used and built by the Romans, and you can also see in the sides that were kept and restored. Here it's where they had the doors where they were using to open and lock the big gates and big doors of the city.
So we're walking through into the city.
So to make it more Roman, they decided to add these two statues. One is there on the right and one is there on the left. That is a statue of Augustus, and this one, probably more famous, you know him better, is Julius Caesar.
I'll go up for a closer look and show you.
So, what is wrong with these two statues? Well, two things are wrong actually. First thing is that statues, as you can see, look, here is an old map of the city. As you can see on the top, that's the name, Augusta Taurinorum.
Which
that was
Turin.
The old Roman name of the city. And Taurinorum, actually, because it means Augusta, the name of the city after the Emperor Augusto. Taurinorum means Augusta of the Taurini, which were the tribes that lived here, and still Torino takes the name to this day from them. So what's wrong with these two statues? First thing is that they are in the wrong place, because in the ancient Roman times, the statues were not put inside of the city walls, as we're now, but they were put outside to everyone to see when they arrived in the city. But the even more important thing is that they are not from ancient times. They were added on during the fascist time in around 1930 something. They were added on when they restructured this in the 30s of the 20th centuries. They were added on to make it feel more authentic and more Roman. So they are, of course, of two different, very, very different historical periods. So these are the Porta Palatina. You can see them fully here, very nice. And I guess we can move on to the Roman theatre.
And so actually, just in this last week, they've finished restoring the Roman theatre here. So it's good timing for this live. We've got a dog coming towards us who wants to be in the live. Hi! Ciao, cucciolo! Okay, so you can see we're just coming through.
Since we're going there, we can say a bit more about what we're going to see there. That one there is the bell tower, thank you, of the Duomo of Torino, which is the main church of Torino. And it's important because inside there is the most famous, the most important relic of Turin, and one of the most important of Christianity, which is the Shroud of Turin. For everyone that doesn't know what it is, the shroud is I guess you can say the veil, or like the piece of cloth that covered the body of Jesus when he was taken off from the cross and put into the tomb. Of course, there are big discussions about the authenticity of it, but anyway.
So we'll show the theatre, Andrea.
Down there.
Okay. We're coming into one of the most impressive piazzas, well, the most impressive piazza in Turin, I would say. So that's where we're walking to now.
We have a quick detour there for the Roman theatre.
Great.
There it is.
If anyone has any questions about Turin or places that you're seeing as we're talking, feel free to leave a comment as well.
So, some tourists too. So here we are. This is the Roman theatre, if you can see it properly. I'm gonna try to put you in a good position. So as you can see, there was this circular part there that was part of where the people were sitting, and the stage was actually where now there is this museum down there. This is part of the Royal Palace that we're gonna see in a moment. Now is a museum of fine arts. And this was a big theatre for the time. It could host 3,000 people, which was a big part of the population of Turin at the time. Unfortunately, nowadays there are just all remains because people actually forgot that there was a Roman theatre here. It was simply rediscovered at the beginning of the 1900s, so it's quite recent, the rediscovery of it, and they're not doing any shows here, unfortunately, not for the moment at least. So this was the quick tour of the Roman remains of Torino, and as you can see here, there is the Duomo, very nice. And now we would like to show you the big Piazza of Torino, while we go there.
It is beautiful and regal and very impressive.
Yes, we would like to see the Royal Palace, and you can also see one of the main.
Palazzo Madame.
Sì, Palazzo Madame, and they both are in what is called Piazza Castello, which is just around the corner. It's nice to see the center of Turin because it's not super big. It's full of things to see, but they're like
very compact. It's quite close together. It's a very walkable city as well. So we're just going past the Duomo. So this is where we were saying that the royal shroud is inside here, and the Duomo is actually connected to the royal palace as well. So the Savoy family were very religious, obviously very Catholic, and so yeah, the Duomo, which is the most important church in Turin, is directly connected with the royal palace. So the shroud, yeah, is still sitting in there today.
Because we have to say that the royal palace, which was the palace that was used by the Savoy family and the royal family before that, before the capital was actually moved to Turin, it was the palace where the bishop was living. So this is why it's closely linked to the church, because it was mainly a religious site. And then it became the site of the House of Savoy. So we're gonna go quickly.
We'll just turn the camera around as well and show you where we're actually walking, because it's quite beautiful as you walk through here too. You can see the big up there, the cupola.
This is the big dome, the big cupola, which doesn't seem so impressive from here probably, but inside it's very beautiful and it's extremely tall. So here we have a little guy playing the saxophone. They often do here, it's very nice, full of music. And here we arrive in the smaller part of Piazza Vittorio, which is called Piazza Reale. And turning around here, you can see down there in front Piazza Castello that we're gonna show you. Now that we go closer to that, we can already start to see a bit of Palazzo Reale.
We're going to turn around to the royal palace, and hopefully you can see it because the sun is shining directly on it, so you can get a bit of a view, and it is beautiful.
These are the problems of being in filming in summer. So we have our olive guinea here.
It's super impressive. So we're going to take you through and turn around and show you again Palazzo Reale.
So now that we're here, a bit farther away from the Palazzo Reale, we can show you and tell about the history of it. So this is it. Now we can find maybe a nice spot. There is a shade. We can actually stop and tell you a bit about the story, because
it's a little hot standing in the sunshine of 30 degrees.
all the Australians looking at this in winter, it's very, very hot.
Very hot. And actually, another thing I wanted to bring up, you can see for people who maybe are American and watching and can travel, so you can see that we're not wearing face masks outside anymore. So in Italy, you no longer have to do that unless you're in a crowded place. Inside, you still have to wear the masks as well. So just wanted to mention that for anyone who is traveling to Italy.
So, a bit about the history of this place. So, this was the Palazzo Reale, which was founded, which was created as it is now in between 15 and 1600s. It was, of course, the residency of the royal family of Savoy. What's striking here is that it's not as impressive as most other royal palaces in Italy and in Europe. And why is that? Well, the various architects that are like alternated each other, Juvarra, which is very famous here in Piemonte, did many things for the Savoy family, Alfieri, decided to build this palace with a very sort of an austerity inside. Like, they wanted to be very serious without any baroque splendor or anything in it, because they wanted it to represent a serious place where serious business was done. And this is also, I have to say, part of the vibe of the city of Turin. Like, most people think about Turin as a very, like most of northern cities, it's a very serious, very pragmatic city, which is in part true. But the House of Savoy decided to make a difference here, because this palace is nice, very nice inside too, nice gardens, but quite serious, not so stunning. Differently instead than other Savoy residences. We've been, and we can take you maybe another time, to the hunting ground of Stupinigi, which is
it's beautiful, so
owned by Savoy, and it's grand, it's stupendous, a lot of like amazing things, because there was a difference in their mind. This part was dedicated to state business, politics, so it has to be serious and respectable, while instead the hunting ground was dedicated to fun times, relax, so they could add a bit more fun in the architecture and the decoration. So this piazza wasn't always like this palazzo. You can see that this white part and the brick parts are different because they were added on, there were works coming here and there. And this fence here was once a wall that divided the Piazza Reale from the normal piazza, and now we're going to see, and was quite ugly. Nobody really liked it because it made up for an unnecessary division of the two piazzas. So it was taken down, and this gate was at it. Now if we go a bit closer to that, we can see something important, because those two statues are Castor and Pollux. Maybe some of you know about Greek mythology. They're two mythological figures of Greece. But the important thing is that in the middle there is a little iron rod which signal the points where originally the Shroud of Turin was shown. In there, originally the Shroud of Turin was just put up here where the wall was open. They put up a stage here, and they put up the shroud for everyone to see, so the people were gathering in this beautiful piazza, which is called Piazza Castello, and now we're going to see why it's called like that, and everyone could see this. So do you want to point out where the rod is that you're talking about? Exactly here. Right here. You can see that here's the rod, and it's perfectly behind, if you want to see with you in the background, sorry, behind. Perfectly in front of the... Exactly, of the royal palace. So now we can talk about a bit more about... Flip it around again. Okay, here we are. So we're in Piazza Castello. Yes. And so why is it called Piazza Castello, Andrea? This is called Piazza Castello because, as you can see there is actual
There's actually a castle.
A castle in the middle of the piazza.
As well as a palace.
But it's quite interesting because this castle, it's old. It was built in the 1400s as a defensive structure, of course. And even before that, even before the castle was built, what was it before? It was one of the other gates of the Roman city. So we saw one before. One of the other, there were 4 in total. One of the other was actually here. This was one of the other entrances of the old Roman cities. As you can see, it wasn't a big city for the Roman times because we walked from one border to the other. Now it's much bigger, of course. So after, in the 1400s, a castle was added that we can still see. It's very big, and now you can still visit it. It's like they do exhibitions. We went there to see the
World Press photo.
World Press photo, exactly. Maybe we can go a bit closer and show.
So yeah, we'll go up a little bit.
Yes.
To give you a better view of this castle. Okay, here we go. You can see that a little bit better now.
Yeah.
And
what's peculiar about this is that, as you can see, there is a proper medieval castle that it's still in there, but we're gonna go into the front. We're gonna go into the front now and show you instead what's on the other side of the castle, because the peculiarity of this piazza is that even if it's called Piazza Castello, so for the castle, it has 2 different buildings together in the same structure with 2 different purposes.
And 2 different architectural styles as well. They look.
Exactly.
The front looks extremely different. You'll see in a moment to the castle part that we just showed you.
The front here, the architect Juvarra and Altieri that did the royal palace,
Who was a favorite of the Savoia family.
are the same that did this part here. This part here, this palace here, is not called the castle, it's called Palazzo Madame. Who was the Madame and what does it mean? Madama in Piemontese and in the dialect means woman, lady, noble woman, because it was a favorite place when it was built, because Madame Cristina, which was a noble French woman, of French origin, decided to build this, and it was where she was staying inside the palace. So, as you can see, the style, the architecture is very, very different. This is neoclassical. You can see about the columns, they look a bit like an ancient Greek temple. It's very grand, it's very beautiful. We do exhibitions in here. And when Italy was unified, it was used as part of the parliament. It was the upper house, the Senate was staying in here.
We'll move just around the corner because it's a little bit loud here. But we'll keep talking about.
Well, we can talk about a bit about show the piazza around.
See.
It's also very nice.
You can see they've got the big fountains going during summer, and it's really beautiful.
So the Palazzo Madame is just here, very, very close to the royal palace. Inside the royal palace, if someone's wondering, you can visit the chambers of the king and queen. There is a big museum, there is the armory, there is the library, and they finished last month to restore the gardens, and they are very nice.
The gardens
if someone's interested, the architect of the gardens inside is the same that structured and built the gardens in Versailles. Don't expect to have
It's not quite as big as
It's not quite as
Versailles.
big, but they're nice. Very nice. Yes. Then behind us, there is this tall red building.
See, just on here.
Yes, exactly.
It really sticks out like a sore thumb
When
you're in this piazza.
People in Turin hate it, and have been hating it since 100 years, because this building is very new, it's recent. It was built during Mussolini ruling, during the fascism, because they wanted to sort of put Turin on the map and give it like a sort of a skyscraper. As you can see though, it's not like your average or normal skyscraper. It has this peculiar shape because it was built...
And it's brick.
It's brick. It was built keeping in mind the sort of fascist style architecture, because during Italy during the 20-year period of the fascism, of course, a lot of buildings were brought up and they had this peculiar architecture. So this reflects that kind of architecture. We tell you this to move on because there is another part that was built during the fascist time that is still very part of the very, very center of Turin, which is this street down here we're going to now. Which is called?
This street down here. It's called Via Roma.
Very good.
And it is a very elegant, sophisticated street. It is the shopping street in Turin. So if you like to shop, and I'm talking designer shopping here, this is where you need to come. But it's also just beautiful to walk down and have a look at some of the elegant boutiques as well. So we're going to walk down Via Roma right now.
So this is another quick overview on the other side of Piazza Vittorio. Down there is another big piazza that if we can we're gonna bring you to. This is Piazza Castello down there, sorry, there is Piazza Vittorio. So now there is a better Turinese guide that I am. She's been staying here for more than a year now and she's a proper local, we have to say.
Maybe not quite, but I'm trying. So we're walking down across Piazza Castello.
Let's go in the middle. So
down to Via Roma, and something that's really nice about Via Roma is that no cars are allowed down here, so you can walk in the middle of the street.
It's completely
pedestrian.
Pedestrian.
Right, except for the cars you see parked, but
well,
it's not, you can't normally drive down.
Usually, like you could drive in here, but recently it's been 4 or 5 years since they completely closed it down to cars.
So we just show you like what we're looking at, and it's really beautiful. Another thing that I love, similar to Bologna, in Turin is that they have the portici. So we'll just show you that. So the covered archways, the covered walkways. So it's really great in the winter time or when it's raining because you can walk down Turin without getting soaked. You don't need your umbrella. And it's also nice in the summertime to avoid the heat of the sun. So you can walk under the portici as you do your shopping or go around the city centre.
The people in Turin jokes and said that the portici were built because the king was lazy. And back there in the royal palace, as you can see, on the right, on the other side of the castle, there is the royal theatre. And so they said that the king decided to have the portici so that he could go to the theatre without getting himself completely soaked in rain, since in northern Italy, rain is much more frequent than in the south, like in Naples or even just in Rome.
It was a good thinker. We like the portici here.
So what are we going to see there? What's that piazza there, Liv? Piazza
San Carlo.
Very good, yeah.
Piazza San Carlo.
I'm always trying to make like...
This is the piazza that I posted in my feed just before to tell you about the live. So it's got the 2 churches and it's really beautiful. I really love this piazza, and we're going to see some historical, how can I say, something special in the piazza as well that they left in the building. So we'll explain what it is when we get into the piazza. But I remember when Andrea first showed it to me, and it was really kind of blew my mind because it's something that you just would not see in Australia. And you'll find out in a second what I'm talking about.
The very first date, I was already a tour guide. So you can see there is portici on both sides. And I was saying before, this part here was enlarged and built because after the piazza down there, Via Roma continues all the way down to that sort of circular dome you can see at the very back between the 2 churches. That's the main station of Turin. So Via Roma was enlarged and built during the fascist time. It's especially in the part of the city from that piazza down there, Piazza San Carlo, to the station. You can see that there is a different style of architecture here. It's more sort of Baroque style, quite elegant, while in the other part it's much more austere, much more serious, even a bit suffocating, some would say, because it's a different kind of style. So we're getting there in the piazza.
And perhaps while we go down, maybe you could tell. Andrea was telling me a few interesting stories about Turin and about food.
Well, as some would know, Napoleon ruled over the city during the French times, and here there was the king, and there was, of course, the death penalty back in the day, so they had an executioner. But people didn't really like the executioner, so they started to serve the bread to the executioner upside down, and the executioner didn't really like this, so he complained to the king, and the king passed a law, a famous law that said whoever doesn't want to have the executioner as a client will be himself a client of the executioner. So the baker said, okay, let me think about it. And what did they do? They created a
very creative solution
exactly,
that's still in use today.
Which was an actual cube, an actual, like, with squares on every side. And why was that? Because when they were serving it to the executioner, no one could really say if it was on top or upside down.
Because it looked the same on all sides.
When the French came under Napoleon and ruled the city, they found this kind of bread, they really liked it. And what did they do? They took it, they just made it longer. So whenever you have your sandwich bread, which is in a rectangular shape, now you know where it comes from, because it was invented here in Turin. It was like prolonged by the French, and now you use it every day to make toasts. So after this brief interruption, we're back to show you Piazza San Carlo. Let's mind the cars.
Okay, here we are. It's a beautiful piazza, one of my favorite in Turin.
You can see the Baroque style of the piazza and the building, with a lot of portici, of course, even in here. And then there is the statue here in the middle, which in Piemontese, because as you know in Italy there are different dialects, and in Piedmont and Turin there is no difference, it's called Piemontese dialect. This is called Cavalbruns, which means
Cavalbruns, bronze horse?
Bronze horse, exactly. Because the person, the knight standing here, was one of the royal members of the House of Savoy, they ruled Turin, the one that moved the capital to Turin, because before that it was in France, in the region of Savoy, which still to this day is called Savoy. They moved it to Turin, and it remained here in Turin before as the capital of the Duchy of Savoy, and then as the first capital of Italy.
There we go.
So, what was Liv saying before? The little things, historical things that are still in here, and not many people in Turin know this, even if it's incredibly central. This is one of the most central part of the city. So, Turin, as most of Europe actually, fought in many wars along the centuries against French, Spanish, Austrians, against a lot of people, but especially since the proximity of it, against the French people. They tried to invade and fight for many years. So much so that Turin was constantly shelled by cannonballs that were launched against the city, because Turin was sieged many times during the history. It was shelled so much that cannonballs were flying and arriving literally everywhere into the city. So much that they were coming even into the very city center of Turin. And when they restored this beautiful piazza and this beautiful building, what did they find? They found, as you can see...
Ooh, if you can see.
Let's see, go a bit closer, because there is a bit of sun. But here, without the sun, you can probably see, if you look closer, next to the second window, there, the little black dot here you see, and the other one up here, are actual cannonballs of the French artillery that were left there because they were flying everywhere into the city, and they are now embedded into the wall. They are left there as a historical testimony of the time. So it's
really incredible, and I think when Andrea first showed it to me, I was sort of blown away, because it's not something obviously that you would see in Australia, let alone a piazza like this, but especially not cannonballs. So I wanted to show you guys that, because I thought it was really interesting.
And another little thing you can see, down there, on the very column that at the end of the piazza, here, there is a little painting which actually portrays Mary and the different like disciples of Jesus showing the shroud, because for Turin it was very important, especially for the people who believe like Christianity. These are two twin churches, very nice, and we're gonna quickly show you.
We can go in and see what one of the churches looks like, just very quickly.
Yes, let's go in and show them what a church looks like. I've been inside there just once, I have to say. So.
Yeah, we won't spend too long inside. We'll just go in quickly, just to give you a little view of what one of these churches looks like.
Churches are the best in summer because they're very fresh.
They're very fresh, exactly. So if you're coming to Italy when you're allowed to, I'm putting my mask on because we're going inside, but if you're coming to Italy during the summertime, it's a very good tip to go inside a church because it's nice and cool. Beautiful, super grand. Look how stunning it is. It's beautiful.
And outside you have the beautiful view of Piazza Castello. So this was just a quick overview of the piazza, also because people in the church didn't really like tourists in there.
I just wanted to show you very quickly what it looked like.
So,
okay, so Andrea, where to next? Where are we going on this tour of Turin?
What if we go to little Piazza Carignano, where you can also put in some nice food tips?
Exactly. So obviously if you're following me, you know that I'm normally posting about food, so this is a little bit different today. So we're going to go to this Piazza Carignano, and I'm going to show you two historical places where you can eat or have a coffee.
Exactly. And there is a nice story to be told there, always related to food. In Piazza Carignano there is a famous theater, Teatro Carignano.
See.
And it's famous because in the 1700s people were dying to get a piece of chocolate. Everybody loved chocolate back in the day. It was the big new thing. And Turin was one of the biggest cities with production of chocolate, with a lot of chocolate makers. So much, in fact, the chocolate makers became incredibly wealthy. So one night, in front of this theater, there was a big show, big play.
See, a big
representation.
Show.
And the king arrived with a chariot with 4 horses at the front, and everybody was astonished. Everybody was, you know, this. After him, a chocolate maker arrived.
Chocolatier.
The chocolatier, and it had a chariot with 6 horses, 2 more than the king. The king didn't really like this.
Not good to upstage the king as the chocolate maker.
In front of the whole city. So the king took away all of the belonging of the chocolatier, and there is now this famous saying in Torino, as you can say in Italian, you usually say, not in Turin, but in Italy you say fare una brutta figura, which roughly translates as to make a fool of yourself. But instead in Torino you can say to make a chocolatier of yourself. Fare la figura del cioccolataio, because of course he made a fool of himself, so instead here we say you made a chocolatier of yourself.
Exactly, which I really like that saying. So again, if you're a bit of a chocoholic or you enjoy chocolate, Turin is a great place to visit. There are a lot of excellent chocolate shops in town where you can enjoy. The traditional chocolate is called gianduja, and it's made with chocolate and hazelnuts. So if you've ever had Nutella, think like Nutella on steroids, because
also,
it is even better.
Where is Nutella coming from?
And where is Nutella coming from? If anyone knows, leave it in the comments. But it's coming from Piemonte.
Exactly.
So if you like Nutella, no, we can't.
Oh, it's okay, yeah.
Okay, we'll just turn the camera around and show you where we're walking. Okay.
Sorry for the background noise, but there is some works going on. And another thing you would like to see in Turin when you visit, it's this building here on the right, and we're gonna see the main entrance there.
It's the Egyptian Museum, which actually I still need to go inside and see myself. But it has one of the best collections of ancient Egypt artifacts.
Is actually
in the world.
The second biggest in the world after the one of Cairo. Wow. Even bigger than the Egyptian Museum in London. It's big, it's been renewed in 2015, so I really suggest you to come and visit, because it's one of the things that Turin likes to pride itself
on.
Exactly. Pride itself with. So, we're getting there, close to Piazza Carignano. We're sorry for the background noise, but of course today is a working day here, so there is a lot of people coming and going. Exactly.
Okay, so we're approaching it.
We're ready to show you. It's actually two nice piazzas, smaller than the one you saw before. One is Piazza Carignano, and the other one is Piazza Carlo Alberto. So here it is Piazza Carignano for you.
And you can see this huge building that Andrea is showing you on the right.
This one here, it's Palazzo Carignano, that gives the name to the piazza. And as I was saying before, if you remember, I said the Palazzo Madame, the white palace we saw in Piazza Castello, was the Senate when Italy was unified, and Turin was the first capital, was the upper house of the parliament. Here instead, there was the lower house, the chamber. It's a very grand palace, it's nice. Today there is the museum of the Rizorgimento, which is...
In English, Rizorgimento?
Remains Rizorgimento.
Okay, but
no, I guess the rebirth of Italy when Italy was unified in 1861. Because you have to know that Italy now may seem it may seem normal to you to have Italy unified as one country, but it was unified just in 1861, and before that, last time Italy was unified under one single ruler as a single country was actually during the Roman Empire.
Wow.
So for more than 1,000 years, Italy had different rulers, different little kingdoms, and just in 1861, we actually had a unified
country. So it's actually very new as a country, and that's why when you come to Italy, it's so regional still. And even within regions, in terms of even like little towns, it's even further than just regional. And it relates to everything. It relates to the language, the dialects, which are still in use, although in Piemonte the dialect isn't really as strong as some other regions.
It's
but
very French sounding.
It's very French sounding, exactly. The food, obviously, which isn't a surprise to most people, that it's very regional still.
And about food, would you like to point out?
Okay, so first we'll start with the restaurant. So just over here.
We're gonna turn around the camera so you can better see it. Yes.
Exactly. Is Ristorante del Cambio, and this is a Michelin-starred restaurant that dates back to the late 1700s. It's a very historical restaurant, very elegant, very prestigious restaurant. So it's definitely worth checking out if you have the budget to splurge on a Michelin-starred restaurant. But in case you don't and you still want to get a little taste of a historical restaurant or cafe, just next door, we'll go a little bit closer to show you, is the Farmachia Del Cambio. And it's by the same owners. And it's still very historical. And you can enjoy a cafe or a hot chocolate. What they have in Turin, and there's another famous place to get this drink, it's a special chocolate drink called the Biccerin. Biccerin, if you haven't tried it before, it's only in Piemonte, and it's hot chocolate with coffee and panna, the whipped cream on top, and it is delicious. So there is a famous cafe called Cafe El Biccerin where you can try this drink, but you can also enjoy the hot chocolate or Biccerin also at Del Cambio.
And there we have the theater we were mentioning before, the famous theater where someone made a chocolatier himself.
Ah, exactly. It's
and
just connected to
another
the restaurant.
Very nice and
beautiful piazza.
Beautiful, elegant piazza with a palace there. And the Egyptian Museum is just down the street, down the Accademia delle Scienze.
So it's all really close together. You can see, like, when we went to the Royal Palace, it's, you know, within walking distance, 5 minutes or so. So actually the city centre of Turin is really walkable. Someone was asking me if it's dog friendly as well. It's
Absolutely,
definitely absolutely dog
Italians
friendly.
love dogs, they go crazy for them.
So feel free that you can bring your pets to go out for a big walk. And the other thing is that, yeah, you can either walk around or also bike. There's a lot of people riding their bikes through town. And there's city trams, so they've got trams in Turin, so you can hop on the orange tram and ride around the town as well if you don't want to walk all the way, but it is really walkable.
Maybe we can finish going to the other piazza, going through the Palazzo Carignano, so that you can see.
We'll walk through.
We can actually walk through so that you can see how it's inside. It's very nice. We'll show you. We're sorry if the light is a bit...
the light is a little...
very, very
not
bright,
optimum.
of course, but, well,
You
you'll have
can
to
get a
come and
taste.
see with your own eyes, I guess.
Exactly. And Turin, I guess, is... Turin isn't normally a city that tourists come to visit, but it's definitely worth a stop for a few days. It's quite close to Milan, so on the train it's only an hour from Milan, and there's so much to see here, so much to enjoy. As well, so we're just walking through, as well as visiting the city of Turin. You can also see what I'm sure people are familiar with is the vineyards. So Barolo is from Piemonte, the region. And so I would definitely recommend coming for a few days to Piemonte. You can have a few days in the city centre, and then you can also go out to the countryside and visit Le Langhe, which is my favourite place in Piemonte. And you can visit different castles. We'll just show you where we are, so it's beautiful if you can see it.
This is the inner courtyard of the Palazzo Carignano that was actually used as part of the parliament, as we said, and also as a residency before that, of course, the Savoia family.
So it's beautiful. There's so many things to do in Piemonte. I mean, this is just a tiny snippet of some of the key historical places, not all. So what we'd like to do next time, if people are interested, is do a walk through my favorite part of town, which is the Quadrilatero. So it's the ancient Roman part of town, the oldest place in Turin today. And we would like to show you as well where you can get that famous Bicerin drink, and a few other little delicious cafes and restaurants in that area too. You can just see where we are. That's a better view without the heat of the sun, the glare of the sun. So we're just walking through and we're coming out to the other piazza now, which we can show you.
Which is called Piazza Carlo Alberto. Of course, a lot of piazzas in Turin are named after Savoy rulers, since they originate from here. It's very nice, very central, quite little, but so characteristic, so nice and quiet. If you just want to relax, there are a lot of nice places where to take a sandwich, a good gelato. We're going to show you one maybe now.
We're going to show you where you can get one of our favorite gelatos in town. There's a lot of good gelateria.
We want to show you the back of this big palace as well,
Yeah, let's see.
getting a bit farther away from it so that you can actually see it properly. Here, down there you go, next to Piazza Castello, where we were just before. This is one of the National Library, very big building, very nice. And behind us is the beautiful Palazzo Carignano we just went through.
Look at it, it's beautiful. I hope that you can see that. But as we said, if not, you're going to have to come and visit us in Turin to take it in full.
Liv, do you want to show them where we like to take gelato?
See, let's go and take a gelato now.
Yes.
So we're walking over to Più di un gelato.
Which means?
More than one gelato.
More than an ice cream.
More than an ice cream.
See, exactly.
Okay, still. And it is, really delicious, and they make excellent gelato. You have to look out when you're in Italy, because people think you can come to Italy and all the gelato is, authentic and really delicious gelato, but not always. You don't want to fall for the tourist traps. So a few tricks or tips when you're looking for gelato, the first tip, perhaps you've heard it, but the color of gelato is something to look out for. So you want to go for gelato that is as naturally colored to what the flavor you're choosing as possible. So for example, pistachio, what color should that gelato be? You don't want it to be a bright, vibrant green because the actual nuts aren't like that. Otherwise, lemon, actually it should be white, not yellow. Little things like that. So pay attention to the color of the gelato. And another big tip is that you want the gelato to be stored. You don't want to be able to see the gelato. So I know if you go to some more touristy places, it's all kind of piled on. You can see the ice cream in the counter. And it's not ice cream actually, it's the other point. It's gelato. It has a lower fat content, so you can eat more. You can have 2 a day. But yeah, if you're actually buying the proper gelato, you shouldn't be able to see it. It's in these vats, these big silver vats, where they bring it out to give you a scoop. So if you see it in the counter, then it's probably more likely an ice cream that you're buying rather than actually gelato. So this is the gelateria, più di un gelato. And we definitely recommend coming here for a gelato when you've finished your sightseeing in the city centre and you're ready for a bit of a sugar hit, especially if it's in July and it's really hot and sunny. You're going to need that gelato break.
We can finish by showing one of the 3 galleries we have in Turin.
Yeah, great.
Very
We're going to walk
quiet.
through this beautiful gallery, and then I think that we'll have to leave it here after this for today.
Maybe a lot of you probably know Milan. You've been in the gallery of Milan, very big gallery. Here in Turin, we have 3 galleries instead, smaller than the one in Milan. All of them are very central, they're very beautiful, very, very elegant. It's very fresh, also in summer, which is a big point. And you can come here, take a gelato, just relax and decide what to do next, where to go. And it's very nice. So, thank you very much for joining in.
Thanks for watching. It was our first go, and hopefully next time will be even better. But thank you so much for watching, and yeah, if you have any questions about Turin or other curiosities, leave a comment. And we'd love to show you more next time. As I said, we'd love to show you the quadrilatero, which is my favorite part of Turin. We'd love to show you some more places of, for me, especially food and wine, where to eat. It's always important. And we didn't show you one of the biggest piazzas as well, Piazza Vittorio Veneto.
We're gonna keep it for another time.
And there's so much more to see. This is just a snapshot of some of the most important places in the city centre.
Let us know what you think of it, if you liked it, if you have any tips and improvements. And thank you, I guess.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope everyone's keeping well. And I hope, especially for Australians watching this, I know that in Sydney and Melbourne you guys are back in lockdown, so I hope for the moment at least it's a bit of armchair travel for you. Can get you continue dreaming about Italy because it's waiting for you, and we can't wait to see Australians back here as well. So have a lovely evening or day wherever it is that you are, and we'll see you again next time. Ciao!
Bye!